everyone, and welcome to Legacy Circle. My name is Sienna Calderon, and I'm your host. This is episode 4, and we have today Anthony. So today we're just gonna kind of get into a couple different things. I want to talk about, authenticity. I want to talk about how he got into, the industry he is now, and just a bunch of different stuff. So, Anthony, if you could just explain to us, introduce yourself for the audience.
For sure. What's up, y'all? I go by Anthony, aka Antho. I am a store owner. I have a store called Tailored Reputation. I have a brand called Inheritage, and also have a printing company. For those that do know me, they know I come from the music industry. Y'all know I come from videography. So yeah, that in that nutshell, entertainment and stuff like that. I've been doing a lot of that. So yeah, that's what I'm currently doing, and then we'll dive into some stuff in the past I've done too. So yeah.
Okay, so let's get into kind of like your upbringing. So you're from Houston. You got any siblings?
Yeah, I got 3 brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that like? Like, what did you envision for yourself when you were younger?
Man, I would say I grew up watching like my big bro, my cousin, they were rappers.
Yeah.
And they like my brother used to have like notebooks full of raps and rhymes and just not and we would all freestyle. So just one of the things in the hood was you had to know how to freestyle or know how to rap or sing. We couldn't sing at the time, so we'd be at the cafeteria freestyling. I would pick up on like the homies doing it, my big bros, my cousins doing it. So I grew up kind of looking up at that. That's what the sibling relationship is like. And then what else? That kind of influenced me to figure out what I'm into now. Like within the hip hop industry, you start picking up fashion, you looking at music videos on BET, you looking at stuff on MTV. So
it's the whole culture thing.
Yeah. So yeah, you pick up of what you're seeing. So that's where it kind of started.
So I know from talking to you, there's a big emphasis on just kind of, I would say, kind of like alignment of with what you're doing and with the things that you're involved in.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get to that place? Because I know we didn't just like, as a young kid, like go from knowing what we wanted to do and have purpose behind it, right? So how did you get to that place that you are now?
I would say, let me think on that. My case specifically, like naturally, I'm a giver. I like helping people out. I like showing to other people. I like putting smiles on people's faces. I didn't realize that, and with that, in life we want to obtain certain success. So, trying to categorize what my success looks like, and also still being in the business of serving others, was trying to find balance. So I feel like for a long time, I felt like I was fulfilling other people's dreams and visions, but I felt unsatisfied with myself because there were things I wasn't scratching off the list. But it felt like I was in that realm of like, man, I'm right there, but it was on the whole other end of the spectrum. So I would say for me to get to this place now, uh, it's something that you mentioned. It's being authentic to yourself, finding out who you are, what you stand for, um, and being original. So um, it's one thing to pick up influence from some things, but finding out what's your definition of who you are.
So okay, so you say you were in music, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the music industry. How? Because I think in an industry like that, and I haven't personally, been in that industry, but you're in that industry and you do have a lot of, right, you're looking up to certain people and you have a lot of distraction. How do you kind of navigate that space?
Yeah, I would say to navigate that space. How would I navigate that space? So I guess with me, I've never really cared about like the validation of others, but I would try to validate myself. Like if I wasn't good enough at something, I would critique myself, or if I asked people's opinions, it wasn't to see like what they thought of me. It was to see, okay, how is it? What's the overall assessment of what's the normal answer I'm hearing? I used to hear that I rap too fast. I used to hear that I rap like this person. So for me now, I think again it goes back to being authentic, being original. So I'm at this point now where I want to find out where, like, be intentional about any movements I make. So a lot of times we can be doing it because it looks cool because somebody else did it. So I'm very intentional about any moves I make. That it will start there,
Yeah.
um, and then sometimes you got to do your research. You got to be take time. You can't always look at the end result of what you want the answer to be. Sometimes you got to figure out, okay, what does it take to get to that result, and then also learn to enjoy that process. So yeah,
Speak to us about that, because I feel like that's even something that I've been trying to work on, is how to kind of like embrace that process. And especially a lot of like entrepreneurs, I think that's kind of like the biggest thing, right? It's
yeah,
like, okay, we and you said it perfectly, like you have your mind set on this like one big goal, right? Or this achievement, right? This
mm-hmm.
thing that I have to cross off the list. How have you been able to do that? Like, is it maybe just trying to like have, I hear people say like, and I've done this myself, like maybe just work out or do something for myself just to center myself, to kind of figure out like, how can I embrace this moment and take it all in and not be so caught up in the next thing, right?
Yeah. I think it's a lot to answer that, but one I would say is I went through a lot of hardship. The hardship was like I was in the military. Sometimes you don't get a choice of painting the perfect day. Sometimes you just got to go through what you got to go through. So you know how some people need that motivational quote or that motivational speech to get them through the day. Like for
Yeah.
me, I didn't have that a lot. I didn't have that motivational, like, oh man, I seen they do it, so maybe I can feel better. For me, it was like, bro, you want to pay your bills, you got to get it done. You want to get to the next level, you got to get it done. So it just started becoming a more disciplined thing that you can't really. I don't think it's really something you could learn. You just got to go through it, and it was hard, but luckily I was able to like make that work out for the best of me.
Yeah.
Was to go through my experiences I was going through in life. That was things that were thrown at me, and then finding a way to funnel it in back into myself. So
So you have like your older brothers. Was that,
one older brother, but yeah,
oh, one older brother?
yeah, I got one older and two younger
Oh,
brothers.
okay. So you say you looked up to him. Was there kind of, or at least did you have kind of that mentorship, or where did you kind of look out for? Because I think, you know, most men, and I mean, I guess speaking on what my perspective on it is, but I feel like, or even just people, like we kind of just, we want to look to somebody, but sometimes it's not there, right?
Yeah.
And then we just start kind of looking, venturing out, like, okay, this person looks like they got it together. This is what, you
Right.
know.
I would say, all right. So a couple one. I'm gonna try to point at two things. One is the big bro situation. That's one where uh, I feel like he was very gifted at what he had, what he could do. Um, but I quickly started realizing that wasn't my story. Like I didn't have the same approach he had. But then, just to pivot in life, I got different influences, idols, people I look up to, and it just so happened me being in this industry, I started realizing like, man, like my story doesn't have to go specific how their story went. I can create my own story. So I think you start picking and choosing what influences you, and I feel like it's a recipe to either success or a disaster. So you can put two people in the exact same situation, um, and you can get two completely different outcomes because it's perspective. So for me, like a lot of the things that influence me, I try not to. I take it personal in a way where I understand it's serious, but I don't take it personal to where I let it affect me negatively. So, man, I feel like that's how I got to where I'm at now is to kind of categorize how much things are affecting me from the outside world, and then how I can apply that to my life daily. So it's when I went like even yesterday, I had a rough day yesterday, but this morning, that doesn't my perspective today is, hey, I got to wake up today, like I'm breathing, I'm alive, I got to eat, I got a roof over my head. We say that stuff, but it's real. Like I felt real at peace this morning, but had I carried that energy from yesterday, it could have changed my whole day just off of letting that thing affect me. So yeah,
That's, no, that's really cool, because I think, Yeah, I feel like a lot of people kind of, that's hard. I mean, should I even say like today, there's things that happen and it's like you try not to allow it to affect you and it's like, okay, tomorrow's a new day. Like we just
Yeah.
gotta, have a different approach to it. Um, okay, so
Yep.
how leading up, like, okay, so it was the military. How did that go into, like, where did you get
The
into that?
yeah, the first part I would say my pops, he was in the military. He was an Air Force veteran. Um, he mentioned it to me, and it was also like I graduated high school a little bit early at 17. So um, I feel like a lot of kids, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life, where I wanted to go. And my pops kind of threw it in my ear like, man, if you are still trying to figure it out, why not join the military, pick up some benefits along the way. You can still get covered school later if that's something you want to go into. So that was the initial reason. My second reason was I was when I graduated high school early, right away I jumped into like college, and I had a homie in college. His name was Prophet, and the school was expensive, so it was a technical school, but it was an expensive school, and he mentioned that his school was paid for. Really? He's like, yeah, I'm a veteran. I was like, what does that mean? Like, you start asking all these questions. So pretty much like that whole semester, me being 17 and a half, I bugged him like, hey, bro, so how does the military work? And what's the difference between this branch and that branch? And just kind of picked his brain. And finally he was like, hey, bro, you either going to do it or you're not. Like, just stop asking me. So, so literally like second semester rolled around, and it was one of those things. I'm like, man, school's expensive. I'm going to jump into it. So I just jumped into it. Like, I'd never really left Houston like that. I think I've been to Louisiana or something like that as a kid, but I never really left the north side of Houston. All I knew was my neighborhood, the Jack in the Box around the corner store. Like you so close. I was so close minded, and jumping into that experience, it taught me quick. Like, well, it didn't teach me, but you start picking up quick. Like, man, life is different. I'm not a kid no more. People might not care. Um, you do got to travel. Like, there's a whole world out here. There's language barriers. There's different food. So when you start, man, for me that it was just an icebreaker because that was my first time being on a plane. I signed up March 8, 2013. I left March 26th. So like I was fast tracked, and it just was like uphill. It was uphill and then downhill from there. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
That's crazy. So what? Okay, so then how long were you in the military for?
I did 6 years. Yeah.
Oh shit. How was? So then how was that? Okay, so you get out. What was the plan after?
That's the crazy part. So, man, when I was in, I'll try to make it kind of compiled, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of good experiences, a lot of bad experiences. Um, but I'm grateful for what I know because it made me who I am today. Like, I'm disciplined. I'm a little more patient. I'm more cautious when I approach things, but I'm also daring. Like, I'm not scared to try something. Um, so that's some of the things I take away. Now, with that, um, there was moments where you doubt yourself. There's moments where you want to give up. Um, I think one of the biggest questions any military member goes through is like, man, you gonna do the full 20 years, or you just gonna do like you gonna re-enlist, or you gonna get out. And for me, it was at that point. I'm at my 4 year mark, 5 year mark. I got decent money coming in, but I felt maxed out. I couldn't get promoted because I was already maxed out at my pay. And in the system we was in, you either gotta wait till the person above you dies or moves around. So it's like, all right, like they not moving. I'm maxed out of my pay. I had already got my first house, but I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I was like, man, um, like I didn't know what was next for me, but I knew okay, what I'm doing isn't working. Like what I'm doing isn't working. So I was like, all right, let me find a way to pivot or something. So I had a sergeant major Lofton. He was my boss. He played guitar, and he was like, man, I this all I know is I've been in the military 33, 34 years, and I know how to play guitar and cook barbecue. And I got a guitar in my store. If you ever go to my store, I got a guitar in there. He sold me that guitar for $1. But for me, it was a symbolization that he was like, one, don't ever take it like I gave you that guitar, you bought it. So like that meaning behind that was cool. But two, I seen him actually the end of his career, like he walked out, he literally didn't even look back at the door. And I was like, man, his words for me was like, man, go live your life, go do whatever it is you want to do in this life, because like a lot of people would try to sell you on this dream of like you got to do a 20, 30-year career somewhere. And that, to me, that's not everybody's answers. To some people it is. To me it wasn't. So to say that I didn't know what I was going to do when I got out, but I had to get out. And yeah.
That's crazy because no, my dad was in the military. I don't know if I had told you this before, but I never really understood it because as a kid, you know, and my dad wasn't like around at all, so it was just kind of like you just have such a like negative, you know, outlook on it. But yeah, you're right. Like it does teach people a certain thing, and I think there's just kind of this unspoken thing of like you go in the military, you know, you come back a different person, right? And I hear that a lot. Or
I do believe that, but I also believe it's a career that you're just signing up for that you don't really know. It for me, it felt like since I don't know what I'm gonna do, I guess I'm gonna just do this. To some people, that's not their situation. To some people, they're like, nah, I want to be a medevac technician. I want to be a mechanic. I want to do this, and that's my dream.
yeah,
For me, it was just like, man, I don't know what I want to do, so I guess I'll just do this for the meantime. But for me, I seen a lot of people around me that was just doing it for the meantime, and at 6 years turned to 10 years, at 10 years turned into 15 years, and it's like, dog, like you're just gonna keep going year after year, like doing what you know. That's the thing. Like we do a lot of times, we just do what we know. When it's like, nah, you gotta try new experiences. I used to in the military, like I was a technician, so I worked on vehicles and stuff. I'd have my own mechanic shop. I used to build cars. So the risk in you starting a project not knowing if it's gonna get finished, the risk in you not knowing if it's gonna work when you finish it, you not knowing if it's gonna start. So like the risk for me wasn't hard, and it's gonna sound funny, but when I look at cameras now, that was the exact reason why I got into videography. I was like, if I could build a car, I could hit a couple buttons on the camera. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I think about life like that now. So now it's like, okay, if I can make $1,000, I want to make $10,000. If I, you know, obviously try to keep scaling it up, but I look at every situation like that. Even fitness, like, you know, recently I picked up some weight. Now I'm kind of back in the gym a little bit. So it's like, okay, I've been in shape before, I can get back in shape again. So it's about how you look at the problems you got. So yeah.
So okay, so then you got out the military, and then yeah, tell us like that process.
Oh, it was crazy. So, I got out the military March 2019, and one of my close friends, his name Michael, he had a shop off of Beltway and Hardy, and the goal was like, bro, let's just go crazy. Let's do the shop stuff. And what ended up happening was a situation where the landlord ended up selling the shop, probably like March or April, right when my contract just ended, and he sold it to the city because the city was buying out the area. It was like in a flood zone, and we had bought like tools and a lift and all this stuff.
Wait, so this was like an auto shop?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like the plan was, hey, we don't know what's gonna work, what's gonna pop off with the shop stuff, but let's try it. Boom, like a month later. So I just ended my military career. Like a month later, the shop gets bought out by the city, and we kind of like, dang, what we gonna do? So I was like, we're gonna do a tow truck business. I built my own tow truck. Like me and my homie, we built the tow truck. Like that didn't work because you last minute trying to put all your eggs in one basket, and it worked. And I was like, man, I gotta pay the rent. I ended up selling the tow truck. I got like a job somewhere, like just picked up side work and stuff, but quickly life was just like, hey bro, you better figure it out. So it took me going through months of that. I was like, this will end up happening in my situation. I'll try to wrap it up. I realized quickly my life was spiraling down. I hadn't fully thought about what life was looking like. And I was like, man, at the worst, I could always go back. And I was like, nah, I can't go back. I'm not going back. So it felt like prison. So I'm not going back, right? But so I was like, I'm going to give myself to like January 2020. If I don't figure it out, I'm gonna have to sell the house. I regret that decision because I ended up selling the house because I couldn't afford it. It's like I couldn't afford the house, moved back in with my people, and I was like, when I did that, that's when I knew I had to go back to the drawing board. Like, okay, what is it that I'm trying to do? What is it I want out of this life? What do I want to leave behind? What do I want to even, like, before I could even get to the part where I leave something behind, what could I build right now? So that's when, like, I shot a movie. I picked up cameras. I was learning a little bit about drone. I was still doing music. I had relationships in the music industry. I was like, maybe I can shoot this person's video. I can do this. I can do that. And eventually, all of that led into, like, man, what if I do my own brand? What if I do my own store? What if I do... And now that's where I'm at now. So, so finally I got to a point where I just closed on my house November. So it took about 2 or 3 years. Are we on time? Okay. Oh, you were clapping. My bad. Lid. That's what's up. So, so it took. I had a downstroke for about 2 years where it felt like I was going down and I was slowly climbing up, but every time I would come up, something else would get hit. Car issues, whatever issues, right? And I finally just started catching up slowly and slowly. Worked on my credit, worked on my business LLC, and then was able to get to where I'm at now. So I got a store, I got a brand, a printing company. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, first of all, like, how do you feel now? Okay, you got a house. Like, how does that feel to have your own, like, space?
Man, for one, like, I missed it because it was like I was so used to living by myself, and to humble myself to know that, like, okay, like when I sold my house the first time, it hurt me so much, and people might not even know this, but like I gave a lot of my stuff away. I gave tools away. I gave music equipment away. I gave my studio desk away, my speakers, my subs. I gave car parts away because I had stuff from the shop. I had stuff from the house. I gave furniture away, couches, dining table. I didn't sell none of it. I was like, I don't want it because it's like I felt like a loser. I felt like I lost. And for me, like, I knew I was never gonna put myself in that situation again. So, to have it again now, like one of the first things I did when I got it, I was like, I got to start making it home. Because, and what I mean by that, I was like, I got to paint these walls. I got to see the vision how I see it. Because that's how I think. It's like, if it's not how I see it, I might not touch it for another year or two. So it's like, let me get this going now. Like, right when I moved in, I'll show you some pictures. Like, I painted the chimney. We whitewashed the chimney. We did, like, black accents. We did the walls agreeable gray. Painted the bedroom black.
The name of the color and everything.
No, facts. It was like the vision was there. I was like, oh no, bro. Like this what we worked hard for. Like we gonna make this vision come to life. But it's more so like, bro, if you want something, you gotta get it, because if you procrastinate and wait on it, man, I'll be looking at white walls right now if I didn't do that. And I knew that was my thing. I knew if I didn't do it now, when I come home, I'm be like, dang.
When you had your old house, your first house, do you feel like what was that space of mind like? Do you feel like you kind of took advantage of that feeling of like you were just comfortable, or?
I would say I took advantage, and I made that home too. My whole living room was a studio. Like right when you walked in, it was huge studio desk. It felt like amazing.
Yeah.
Where it started getting comfortable was I wasn't creating because I didn't have time to create, and I was creating, but it was like experimental creating. It wasn't intentional creating. So, when you're not intentional with your movements, you can quickly just be doing it because it keeps you busy. And I started realizing that. So now I'm not taking that serious, and then I'm still going to work every day, and then life is hitting. So yeah, now it's different. Now it's like, okay, on Tuesday I got this going on. Like, I have to write things down now. If I don't have it on a schedule, it's probably not getting done. So, yeah.
So aside from the shop, like, what else are you involved in now?
I would say,
Or what matters to you the most?
I'm 29 years old. I'm at a point where, this is gonna sound funny. Like, you know how people say you try to settle down and stuff, but like for real, I'm at a point where it's like, yo, I want to get to a point where like I can create my own family, where my whole life I've always put work first. I'm starting to put like my rest first. I'm starting to put like the people that belong to me that I care about first. Not first as in like only, but I mean as in it's so easy to make excuses to not hang out with somebody. It's so easy to make excuses to not spend time with the people you care about. I'm at a point now where it's like, man, work can wait. Let me go kick it with my grandparents. Work can wait. Let me go spend time with my mom, with my dad. So like I start finding ways to fit all of that into my schedule now. So that's what life looks like for me. Obviously, the business side is I got the store, Tailored Reputation. I got the brand. I got the printing business. But the part I care about most is like, man, I got my family. I got my girlfriend. I got like the dogs. Everything that really makes me happy. I try to spend time with that as much as I can.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's beautiful. So, what are the goals or the dream that you want as far as like the shop, like career wise?
I'm still figuring that out. So if you go to my store, I don't even have business hours on my store because it's like, man, it's a commitment to say I'm gonna be here from 11 to 7. I don't want to ever lie to somebody and not be there. So I think for my vision though, I do want to have my brand in multiple places. I want the store to be its own entity, its own identification. And then what else? The printing company is what's funding, or not funding, but funneling the store with merchandise. But I'm also seeing that be a solution for other people that I know. So there's other peers that I know that have brands. I'm able to now make their product. So I'm realizing like, wait a minute, this puts me back in that part where I feel like I'm serving my community, where I'm able to like help people out, where I can make their product. And in the store itself, like people come in, they're able to see a product, they like it or they don't. Most people like it and they buy it, like knowing that I'm providing them with something that they care about, that they like, that they're gonna wear. I've seen people wear it to dinner dates. I've seen them wear it. Like I get tagged in so much stuff, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it feels good, like me being that little service, seeing the return of like people following up, people taking pictures, people tagging me. It's like, dang, like they really like this stuff. Like it feels good. It feels good.
So, because I know, and it's funny because I told you this, like when I saw your clothes, and I'm like, wait, it actually, like it says legacy on it and all that stuff. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
I would say to answer that, I would say peace of mind. I want anybody that I'm involved with, if my time was to come, I want them to feel at peace. I want them to know that like I live my life, that I've done what I was set out to do, and also what I wanted to do, from traveling, from eating food, from trying different experiences. So that'd be the part where to know that, hey, I'm leaving happy. But for them, I would like to leave behind just peace of mind, like to know that, hey, you ain't got to worry about nothing. It's taken care of. So that's what I'm trying to work towards. But yeah.
Yeah, I think too, I think that's beautiful. And I think, hearing your story, it seems like it's almost like, it all just unraveled in a way where you came out of it and it's like you learn from different stuff, but you also like you took it in a way that it was like I'm making it my own, and I'm trying to be a better version of myself, and I like it. It seems like you're somebody that's like just absorbing stuff too, right? Like
yeah.
you are a knowledge seeker, and I think that's really cool. Do you have, I guess, advice for somebody that maybe is kind of like, at a stage that you were before, like kind of struggling, trying to figure what that next step is?
I would say I'm gonna try to leave it at this. So one thing was I am like a sponge. I observe the energies. I absorb and observe the energies around me. So like I notice when people move funny. I notice when people are genuine, when it's fake, when it like everybody. I think a lot of us can feel that, right? One thing I'll say is that a lot of times when we're hungry and we want to get to our goal, we can start observing our relationships we got. Like, man, maybe that's not my friend, or maybe they did that on purpose, right? At least that's how I would view it. I'm like, man, like why they do that? So I would question the intentions behind a lot of people, and I had to get to a point and realize, like, man, not everybody that doesn't. I'm trying not to curse, but not everybody that doesn't rock with you, it doesn't mean they hate you. Sometimes they just don't have the time, or they don't have the interest to care about what you're doing. So, like, to learn to not take that personal, where it's like, bro, it's a whole world out here. There's no way 8 billion, 9 billion of us are going to like Anthony. But for the people that do, that's, you should say, on the positive side. Be appreciative of the relationships you got. I would say take your time with things, do your research, find the hunger within yourself. Don't use motivation as or lack of motivation as an excuse to not get something done. If you want to get it done, we are at the control of what we want life to look like. So I would say, don't make excuses for yourself. If somebody's not rocking with you, don't take it personal. Sometimes it's just the way the hand life is dealt. So yeah, be appreciative. Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so on that note,
hold up real quick. I want to say I got you a gift too. So
a gift?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get that going. Had to get this real quick. So, lead. I put it in a bag so you didn't see it when you came in. Oh yeah. It's from the store.
Oh shit. Thank you. Can I open it now?
You can if you want to. That's
okay.
Cool.
Oh shit.
So I got the Welcome to Houston mural. It's like
That's
a picture plaque.
Yeah.
Lead.
That is cool. Okay, so do you design these, or you just have like an idea and then somebody else?
Both. So sometimes I work with designers, they send me ideas, sometimes I have ideas. This one's like a world tour spot. These are some places I've been, but more so places I want to go. So I was like, I'm gonna put the cities that I feel like I haven't seen that done. You know, a lot of people, when you look at like an artist tour shirt, you're looking at all these different cities, and I remember growing up seeing like some of the coolest cities, and it felt like you'll never be able to go to them because it's like 100 of them. So for me, this is like affirmations to say, man, I'm gonna go to London, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there, and slowly it's starting to happen. So it's cool.
That's crazy.
But yeah,
I really like this one.
That's the one I got on right now. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yep.
So okay, well, real quick, how was the Europe trip?
Man, that was so fire. Shout out to Lindsay and Colin, and Shamar, my boy Shamar. So the dope part about it, this is the funniest part. The way that trip happened, they walked into my store.
Really?
They walked into my store, and so Colin walked in, and you've been to my store before, so
yeah.
I got merch and clothes.
Wait,
but
not to cut you off, but your store has like only been open for like a couple months.
Right. I opened
July
1st this year, so
no, just crazy, like timing.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
what I'm saying. Like, life be hidden, bro, and you gotta roll with it. So this is the part where it's funny because Colin walked in the store as my homie, and well, I didn't know him at the time. He walked in and he's like checking out the merch. He's like, oh, that's a cool shirt. That's a cool shirt. But he's looking around the store like he's seeing camera equipment just kind of scattered and music equipment, keyboards and stuff. And he was like, bro, what do you do? And I was like, a little bit of everything. Like, I was like, I got a brand. He's like, nah, bro, like, you got equipment in here, like Sony FX3s, you got keyboards, you got microphones and stuff. Like, nah, this ain't just no, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm a creator. So we kind of talked, and he was like, man, he goes, I'm in Houston. He goes, I'm from Beaumont, but I live in Denver. It was like a Monday or something. He was like, man, I got a shoot coming up this Wednesday at Trill Burgers with Bun B. Man, if you got some free time, like, you should come. I said, man, I'll be there. Like, let's do it. So I showed up, did that, and then we had a great time. I got to meet his wife. I got to meet his daughter. We had a great shoot with Bun B at Trill Burgers, and then he was like, "Hey, you got a passport?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You want to go to London?" I'm like, "Let's go!" Like,
Oh shit.
I was like, "Let's go!" So it was just that's how it happened. So, but to know that like opportunity meets preparation, like to have your passport, to and to have the time, that was the main part. Like, it wasn't on some like, hey, I'll only do it at these certain criteria. It was like, man, I really, if you got some time, we'd love for you to come. So I was like, let's do it, and it worked out super dope. So yeah.
That's crazy. Well, okay, so how was the actual trip?
I'm
What
okay.
did you
All
like?
right. So I'm gonna point out some highlights real quick. One was where did we go first? We went to like Nice or something. Yeah, we went to Nice first.
Cause you was what, like 2 weeks or something?
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks. They wanted me to stay for like 3 weeks, and I was like, oof, that's a long time. That was a long, like 3 weeks is gonna be a long. I should have did it though. I ain't gonna lie, but nah. So the 2 week we started like in Nice. When I tell you the water looked fake. That's how blue it was. Like, that ain't no real water. Like, the water was so blue. That was one thing that stood out to me. The people, like, in London, they drive on the opposite side of the road. And then, like, when you know how when we get in the Uber, we used to hop in the back seat.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I hopped on the wrong side, and it was like, okay, let me hop on the other side. So that was that little barrier. In Paris, when I seen the Eiffel Tower, I kind of was like, that's Eiffel Tower. Like, I was like, is that the real Eiffel Tower, or is that like a fake one? They're like, no, that's the real one. So I imagined it being bigger. That was one thing. Not to talk down. I'm just saying, my perspective, I thought it was gonna be bigger. And then I think my favorite part. Oh, this is gonna make people mad. We went to Stonehenge, and I was disappointed because my whole life I heard it. Like, I didn't even know we were going on a trip, and they told me like 2 or 3 days before that we're going to Stonehenge. In the message, I'm like, Stonehenge. Like the rocks, like
yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I bet. Like,
where is that?
That's in like it's like an hour out of London or 2 hours out of London or something like that.
Okay.
So it was on the list. I'm like, I'm excited. Like, what? Because you hear all these stories. Like, man, how did the stones get there? Did aliens put them there? Did the water move them? And, like, did people move them? How they lift them? So you imagine these huge, massive rocks, and I'm looking at them like, they big, but they not that big, bro. They wasn't that big to me. So that was another thing. I'm like, man, this might be a marketing scheme or something. I started feeling like that because they had like a tourist set up. They had it was like $30 per person to go in.
Oh yeah.
I'd be counting, so I'm like, man, that's like 500,000 people in here. So I'm like, it's a lot of people. So they definitely made it a tourist attraction, but it also don't fit. Like, they look real. They real rocks. I'm saying, something about it. It just I wasn't sold when I seen it. I ain't gonna lie. Because the way the driver was like, oh yeah, and to the right is Stonehenge. And I'm like,
oh, that's it?
That right there? like yeah.
I'm dead. Wait, is this the first time? Okay, because I know you did traveling like through the military. Was this the first time you've gone somewhere, like out of the country since then, or?
It's been a minute. Before that, I went to Toronto. I was out there in Canada. Was working on some music.
Oh, okay.
But I hadn't really experimented traveling. Like, everything I've done before was kind of work, or like a quick 2 or 3 day trip.
Yeah.
So this is my first time actually being able to take in a city for what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you though for thinking.
For sure.
Okay, so where can we find you? Like Instagram, all that stuff.
Yeah, so y'all can find me on Instagram at antho.digital. And yeah, just shoot me a message or something. Follow me. I'll follow back. Much love. Yeah.
And then I know we talked about this before, like, what's the support that you need from people right now? I know sometimes we talked about, like, sometimes we don't ask for it, but, like, what's the support that you need from people? Or if it's even like, hey, like, did somebody do this? I'm looking for this.
I would say, man, I'm actually at a point where it's like I get asked a lot of things, like, hey, can y'all do this? Can you do this? Can you do that for me? I say yes a lot, but I'm also at a point where it's like, hey, man, I gotta start calculating what I'm gonna say yes and no to. So yeah, kind of limiting what I'm gonna take on going forward. But yeah, as far as anything I need, man, I'm open minded to conversation. So hopefully, if I need something, I can talk to y'all about it if we bump into each other. And hopefully it can be a mutual thing. If y'all need something from me, whether it's printing, whether it's sales advice or whatever, just let me know.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you for joining us today.
League, signing out. Peace.